Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video, I'll be profiling an article from activistpost.com titled, "As Saudis Suck Up Weapons, U.S. Accounts for Over 1/3 of All Global Arms Sales." And this article is just another example showing that Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is that red horse in Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 4, "And there went out another horse that was red," and horses can be symbolic for power in the scriptures. So this is the power of Esau Edom that was given to him by Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And where it says that was red, how was Esau Edom described in Genesis chapter 25, verse 25? "And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau." You so-called white people or Edomites aren't white. You're actually red. You're clean lepers, as pursuant to Leviticus chapter 13. What's a nickname for you Edomites out there? Rednecks. And also when you Edomites get angry or blush, your blood shoots forth through your skin. And how do you look? Red. And also when you get sunburnt, how do you look? Red. Why is your face so red? Because you're an Edomite. "And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." And one of Esau Edom's blessings in Genesis chapter 27 was the sword. This is Genesis chapter 27. I'm going to read verse 38 to 40. "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept." And this took place after Jacob supplanted the blessing to the kingdom of heaven from Esau, which was all meant to happen in the spirit anyway. Verse 39, "And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above." Hey, pretty much being in control of the entire planet, which these Edomites clearly are right now. When you look at all the major resource trades out here, best believe that an Edomite has their hands deeply in it. And also, another example to see how these Edomites are in control of the planet right now is just look at the standard that's set up. English is one of the top languages used. You have to be able to speak English to be able to be a pilot for an airplane. Business suits are the main attire for major business deals. Shaving your face. The U.S. dollar being the world reserve currency for now, and blonde hair and blue eyes being the beauty standard. "And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." And the Edomites got the fatness of the earth and dew of heaven from above from their blessing the sword, beginning with musket guns and cannons, going to the Gatling gun. Then you had machine guns and chemical weapons during World War I. You had fighter planes and bombers during World War II. And then you had the culmination of Esau Edom's blessing the sword, nuclear weapons, beginning with those 2 atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during World War II. So back in Revelation chapter 6, verse 4, "And there went out another horse that was red, Esau Edom, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, to gain the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above by his blessing, the sword, and that they should kill one another," mainly referring to World War I and World War II, which were both Edomite slaughter fests, "and there was given unto him a great sword." And as we'll see from that article on Activist Post, we can clearly see how these Edomites are taking peace from the earth with that great sword by selling weapons to these different countries so they can fight each other, and also fomenting unrest in these different countries to, for one, push forward their political agendas, such as taking out governments and leaders that aren't open to Edomite influence and setting up puppets that'll allow the Edomites to take advantage of that country, and fomenting conflicts so they can sell weapons to these different countries to fight each other and make money off of it. Something called the military-industrial complex, which started after World War II. And how did the U.S. get out of the Great Depression? Through World War II, making all these different weapons and vehicles to fight in that war. And these Edomites realized that there was big business in war. Real quick, here's a video from Learn Liberty's YouTube channel titled Foreign Policy Explained, Episode 5, What is the Military-Industrial Complex?
In 1961, President Eisenhower gave a farewell speech in which he warned the nation about what he called the military-industrial complex. It sounds scary, like something out of a conspiracy theory or a sci-fi movie. But what exactly was President Eisenhower afraid of? What is the military-industrial complex? It refers to the close relationship between military leaders, government legislators, bureaucrats, and private contractors, all of whom have a stake in national defense. Under our current system, the U.S. government has a monopoly on defense at the national level, meaning that they're the only provider of defense to U.S. citizens. You can't start a private army to compete with it. But that doesn't mean private companies aren't involved. The government purchases military equipment and services from private firms, including uniforms, vehicles, weapons, and more. In order to secure defense contracts from the U.S. government, these companies must navigate a massive administrative bureaucracy. Because this is difficult, most private firms can't successfully compete for these contracts. Instead, a small number of companies who have close relationships with government officials and specialized knowledge of the process tend to win most of the contracts. And these contracts are quite lucrative. The U.S. defense budget is massive, by far the biggest in the world. In 2015, the U.S. budgeted almost $600 billion for defense. And defense contractors who provide the government with military equipment and services naturally want to secure as much of this budget as possible. They do this by spending significant amounts of money to gain access to politicians and bureaucrats and to influence their decisions.
And can you not see a big conflict of interest there? If you're a major defense firm and you make money off of weapons, you would go to these politicians and put a lot of money into their campaigns. And then what would these politicians turn around and do? Push for an aggressive foreign policy, which would need the very weapons you make to be used to fight in those wars.
Ties defense contractors develop with politicians and bureaucrats lead to what is known as the revolving door, where people hop from jobs at private firms to jobs in government and vice versa. This dynamic only tightens the relationship that private firms have with government and allows them to take advantage of these connections. This messy entanglement has two important implications. First, crucial decisions about war are not necessarily made by dispassionate politicians comparing the costs and benefits of military action. Both government and private business are active participants in the defense sector, and each attempts to influence and shape the behaviors of the other. When you're manufacturing and profiting from military equipment, you stand to benefit greatly from an interventionist foreign policy. If you persuade policymakers, many of whom are your friends and former colleagues, to pursue military action, it's more business for you. This can result in wars, with people shipped off to fight and die, without making the nation any safer. Second,
point blank period. Back in Revelation chapter 6 verse 4, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. Colonialization, slavery, the 7 Years' War, the Revolutionary War, the Napoleonic Wars, World War I, World War II, which included atomic bombs, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the First Gulf War, the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, the Syrian Civil War, etc., etc. And also fomenting conflicts all across the planet, so then you can turn around and sell those weapons to those countries fighting to further take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. Now let's get back to that article on activistpost.com. As Saudis suck up weapons, U.S. accounts for over 1/3 of all global arms sales. A new analysis of global weapons sales published Monday revealed that the United States now accounts for well over 1/3 of all arms exports worldwide over the last half-decade, and nearly half of these weapons of war were sold to nations in the Middle East, a region beset by war and conflicts unleashed and exacerbated by American foreign policy that they should take peace from the earth, the military-industrial complex. According to the new data on global arms transfers compiled and analyzed by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, a decrease in arms sales between 2016 and 2020 by Russia and China, and the Russians are also Edomites, the second and fifth exporters overall, respectively, was offset by increasing sales by the other top 5 weapons exporters, the U.S., who are Edomites, France, and Germany, also Edomite nations. So it's not just the U.S. making big business off of war, death, destruction, and misery. It's these other Edomites nations as well. And while the sales remain steady compared to the 2011-2015 period, the report shows that the past decade still saw the highest levels of weapons sales worldwide since the height of the Cold War in the 1980s. Over 1/3 of the global weapons sold worldwide during the past 5 years came from the United States, which is in the scriptures known as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Assyria and spiritual Sodom and Egypt as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8. About half of U.S. arms transfers went to the Middle East. According to SIPRI's analysis, the United States remains the largest arms exporter, increasing its global share of arms exports from 32 to 37% between 2011 to 2015 and 2016 to 2020. The USA supplied major arms to 96 states in 2016 to 2020, far more than any other supplier. Almost half, 47% of U.S. arms transfers went to the Middle East. Saudi Arabia alone accounted for 24% of total U.S. arms exports. The 15% increase in U.S. arms exports between 2011 and 2015 and 2016 to 2020 further widened the gap between the USA and the second largest arms exporter, Russia. While international arms sales plateaued from 2016 to 2020 compared to the previous 5-year period, the import of weapons increased sharply in the Middle East region, especially in Saudi Arabia, the world's largest importer of weapons overall, as well as in Qatar and Egypt, all major customers of U.S. manufacturers. Middle Eastern states imported 25% more major arms in 2016 to 2020 than they did in 2011 to 2015. SIPRI noted the largest increase of any regional bloc. This reflected regional strategic competition among several states in the Gulf region. Saudi Arabia, the world's largest arms importer, increased its arms imports by 61% and Qatar by 361%. For its part, Egypt's import of weapons increased by 136% over the past 5 years. From SIPRI's Twitter page, who were the largest arms exporters in 2016 to 2020? At number 1, the USA. At number 2, Russia, also Edomites. At number 3, France. At number 4, Germany, more Edomites. And then at number 5, China, who are the biblical Moabites. So that's it with this article. One more time in Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth through these destructive wars, as well as creating a lot of these weapons that get fought in these destructive wars, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword, machine guns, rifles, hand grenades, tanks, fighter jets, landmines, and ultimately those nuclear weapons. But that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, that red horse that took peace from the earth with that great sword. So as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.